I'm not ready to have children.
Yeah, I'm going to be having an abortion tomorrow morning.
I'll be by your side the whole time doing the procedure. If you need a hand to hold, I'll be here.
I just want to share my story.
Killing, depending on the situation, it could be okay.
I feel like another child that I had to give up, but still it's not the right time for it. I'd be depressed. I might do drugs. Who knows what I'll do? Maybe I'll abandon it. Like, I could tell I wasn't ready still.
The experience itself is very isolating. And it's more isolating, I think, because this isn't something that people talk about.
Confusing. Because I think if you need to have one, you're confused if you should have one or if you shouldn't have one, and people are telling you you shouldn't have one.
Yeah, Kimberly, good morning. Well, more than a dozen states have now passed new restrictions on abortion, and now we are seeing President Trump suggesting that some of these new laws may go too far. He tweeted over the weekend, quote, "I am strongly pro-life with the 3 exceptions: rape, incest, and the life of the mother."
This is a clear attempt to take decisions about a woman's body and birth out of the hands of a woman and out of the hands of doctors. And that, to me, is really shocking.
We are seizing her, and we may as well be the ones tying her hands to the bedposts and forcing her into childbirth.
Because any woman in Alabama will be free to get an abortion as long as she doesn't know she's pregnant yet.
In the past recent months, the debate over the previous bill, Roe v. Wade, has heated up the abortion discussion in the Midwest and southern states. Women are telling their stories now more than ever, and the citizens of the United States have begun expressing their opinions around abortion.
On the steps of the Supreme Court today, abortion rights activists grab back the megaphone.
But I think that now is kind of a tipping point. And so because I'm able to, I will visibly and vocally advocate for that. Everyone's entitled to their beliefs. They are not entitled to infringe upon other people's bodily autonomy.
Many pro-life advocates will argue that abortion isn't safe with a woman's personal bodies, but recent studies have shown that properly performed abortion procedures are perfectly safe, but the majority of people don't understand the procedure.
So the procedure in and of itself is pretty straightforward. It's the same procedure as if you had a miscarriage and your body did not evacuate all the contents on its own. It's called a suction, dilation, and curettage, or suction D&C. In terms of abortion, if it is later on, it's called a D&E, or dilation and evacuation. But in general, you're going in and you're removing the contents of the uterus. So the risks are very similar if it's in the scenario of abortion or if it's in the scenario of miscarriage. There's the potential risk for infection. So typically, if the abortion is surgical, we'll do antibiotics. So with the procedure, anytime you put an instrument into the uterus, you run the risk of causing scar tissue. Each dilation and curettage in and of itself causes a 1 to 3% chance of scarring internally in the uterus that can lead to infertility. And that's regardless of abortion versus miscarriage.
I'm not a physician, so I can't answer the question medically, but it's clear that from a lay person's perspective, it certainly can be safe, and it's safe because it's legal, and women aren't forced to go into back alleys and go to providers that are not well qualified to provide abortions. So currently it's safe.
The new abortion laws in Alabama fail to take into consideration the underlying problems such as effective contraception due to lack of sex education and poverty, and instead place restrictions on the issues of abortion that lie on the surface of the problem instead of getting to the root cause.
When we talk about abortion, we need to take some steps back. And the primary question, I think, at first is, how do we create a culture in which abortions become less necessary? And so then we get into systemic national issues. Poverty is a driving cause, lack of jobs is a driving cause. So there are lots of systemic national issues that we need to be addressing, not just the issue of abortion, because the need for abortion is going to continue without addressing all those other issues, which are really difficult.
50% of pregnancies in the United States are unplanned, about half, which is a lot. Not every unplanned pregnancy is unwanted. However, there are huge numbers of women who have unplanned pregnancies, which is really probably more of a reflection of our lack of access for all women to effective contraception. And so as a gynecologist, that's something that we work really, really hard at, is having all women have access to contraception who want it. We can access that, but a lot of our world actually can't. And if you are not in charge of your own reproductive health and choices, that really changes the whole conversation. Because there's a proportion of the population that is basically using abortion for contraception because they don't have access to contraception. So any sort of abortion procedure or counseling discussion really, really has to be followed up with, what do you want to do for contraception, so that you don't get yourself in a situation you don't want to be in.
As well as ignoring underlying problems, politicians who create strict abortion bans also fail to step into the shoes of women and understand that everyone has their own messy, complicated lives.
First thing I want to say is that it's a very difficult topic, it's a painful topic, and anytime we're talking about a topic, we need to remember that ultimately we're talking about people. And anytime we talk about an issue, we need to keep people in mind and be sensitive to the fact we're talking about live human beings.
It's easy to get passionate about one side, and you can really alienate yourself from people that might feel like they have, each side feels very passionate that they're doing the right thing. But it's a very, very complex decision process. I mean, there's so many components to what falls into that decision that it's hard, I think, to wrap your head around, like, how that would actually feel if it was you. And that's why our role is really just to support these women with whatever they decide is the best thing for them. I think sometimes that the politicians totally oversimplify the situation.
It's easy for males that are politicians to say to a woman, if you've been raped, you can't have an abortion, or if you're the victim of incest, you can't have an abortion, or if you've been abused by your spouse or some male, you can't have an abortion. And I think that's just preposterous. I think those are reasons to me that ethically make sense and make abortion something that should be available to women who so choose.
I'm not sure they really understand the one gentleman I listened to, who was the creator of the bill. For one, I'm not sure he really understood female reproductive physiology. And two, I'm not sure if he ever put himself in the shoes of the woman who is 17 with no support and no money, who just got here from Guatemala and doesn't speak English and doesn't have a job and finds herself pregnant, or any other situation with super limited resources, and how that would really feel.
At the core of our Christian faith is love. That really all that matters is love. Loving God, loving people, and loving ourselves. That Christianity is not about a long set of rules or who's in and who's out, who's excluded, and blah, 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 blah. It's really about love and action. So when you ask me what does Christianity have to say about abortion, I would say, what does love have to say